If this beat instantly gets your motor running, you're in the right place. Today we are ranking the albums of Ringworm, and we're starting with The Promise in 1993. Formed in 1989 in Cleveland, Ohio, and with their name deriving from a Vincent Price movie, this is a pretty stripped-back record, very much coming hot out of the hardcore punk scene. There are some metal elements in the guitars, and the title track in particular has some kind of thrashy-sounding riffs. Outside of that, though, this is mostly the type of music that's best heard live in a cramped basement that smells like armpits and leather. Pure mosh pit music. I enjoy straightforward hardcore, but as somebody who has listened to a decent amount of it, this feels a little bit derivative and just isn't what I'm really looking for when I come to for this band, so I'm just putting it at okay. Solid start, though. They followed that up with Birth is Pain in 2001. Jumping forward 8 years here already, but during that time they put out a reissue as well as some splits and demos. You'd kind of expect that much time gone by to make for a potentially drastic shift in sound, but overall this mostly picks up right where The Promise left off. That said, there are some subtle evolutions going on here. The guitar tone has a bit more metal crunch to it, with Matt Sorg stepping in to join Frank, and the songwriting is more dynamic. They've incorporated some melodic elements, slower sections, and ripping solos as on Take Back What's Ours. They also occasionally throw in some harsher vocals. I'd say this album reminds me a bit more of early Hatebreed mixed with some Pennywise, if that makes any sense to anyone out there. I'm going to put this one at good tier, solid step up. But then they released Justice Replaced by Revenge in 2005. Getting more and more aggro each record, and this one kicks off fast and furious with that title track. I feel like this is where they really started to find their sound, and starting a relationship with Ben Shiegel producing seems like it was a very good move for them. He would go on to produce every album except for the new one from here on out. Also continuing to broaden their sound with a nice little acoustic number with some wailing electric harmonies on Whiskey Drunk. Ghost of the Past is a D-beat rager with some great bass guitar. Death is Not an Option and Life After the End of the World are also standouts. Really solid record, still not one of my favorites, but again, this is them kind of coming into their own. I'm going to put it at great tier. Next up is The Ninth Circle, The Venomous Grand Design in 2007. Now, if that was them finding their sound, this is them fully formed and fully armed with tighter songs, better production, and still all the D-beat you can handle. Such a run here of bangers in The Cage, The Ninth Circle, and those punchy kind of The Haunted riffs on Suicidal Visions. Really stepping up the guitar work on Alchemist with both killer hooks and solos. Dichotomy bringing an almost Metallica-esque acoustic interlude before abruptly bringing the pain once more. James Human Furnace also really growing into his name here with those snarls. Really, there's not a single dud or even down moment on this thing, and I also find it wild just how strong the guitar work is overall, considering Matt is on his own here without Frank. Really impressive stuff, start to finish. I could listen to this one like all day on repeat. It's going to perfection. We're not done yet, but if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to hit the like button and comment your own thoughts on these albums as we go along. But next up is Scars in 2011. Making the switch from Victory Records to Relapse Records with this one, although that had technically happened with the EP right before. Converge's Jacob Bannon did the artwork for this album as well. Also getting a little bluesier vibe from some of these riffs, balancing the speed with a bit more groove. Not sure if that has anything to do with John Comprix joining alongside Matt on second guitar. Love the gnarly bass break on To the Grave, and really the bass on this album is excellent in general from Mike Lair. Voluntary Human Extinction has both fun gang vocals and some riffs that remind me of Every Time I Die, and similar notes for Unravel, which even reminds me of I've Been Gone a Long Time off of Hot Damn. Surprise violin on Burning Bridges, this time for one of the few tracks of theirs I'd describe as pretty, contrasted nicely with the balls to the wall angel fuck right after. Amazing cascades of drums. Hellbound is also an incredible closer with that hype as fuck tapping riff. I think this album is a bit more varied than the last one, but I still slightly prefer the previous one from front to back. So I'm actually putting this this one at fantastic, though I know it tends to be a fan favorite from what I've seen. Next up is Hammer of the Witch in 2014. Human Furnace killed it with this cover art, which is easily my favorite of all of their albums. More cool strings on the ominous intro of Dawn of Decay, more killer bass work, this time from Ed Stevens of Shed the Skin, as appropriately with the opening of Leave Your Skin at the Door. Exit Life is a total banger. I recommend Amputation is a hilarious title for another rager. Super sick title track too, making me want to put my entire body through some drywall, and more punchy kind of mellow deathy riffs on One of Us is Going to Have to Die. Another solid album, still not as good as the Ninth Circle, but pretty close at least to the last one, so I'm going to put this one also at fantastic. Then we have Snake Church in 2016. Another ripper of an opening title track. This is the type of song that leaves the venue in ruins live. This many years in, and they only sound angrier, heavier, and more ready than ever to kick you in the teeth. Brotherhood of the Midnight Sun follows that up, still going full speed ahead, perfectly balancing that velocity, aggression, and just the perfect sprinkling of melody. Possibly one of my favorite songs from them, period. Ed Stevens still cooking it up with those tasty bass lines on tracks like The Black Light of a Living Ghost and Destroy or Create, and Mark Witherspoon stepping in this time on second guitar. Innocent Blood has some serious Motorhead energy, great hooks on the Apparition, Believer, and Razor and the Knife. Shades of Blue is the only sludgier track slowing things down on this one, but it's mostly another freight train of a record. I'm also putting this one at perfection. It's awesome. Then there's Death Becomes My Voice in 2019. Another Hellfire right from the gate title track opener, arguably even going harder than the last one. Another top track from them overall, really. Then more kind of bluesy dirtbag riffing on the aptly named Carnivores. I Wanna Tear the World Apart is another very anthemic standout, and Let It Burn goes super hard. Alternatively though, there are some kind of stale paint by numbers feeling tracks and what feels like way more slower sections, which just, again, isn't what I come to this band for.
Must go faster.
Yeah, I don't know, something about this one doesn't fully click with me. Again, it starts really strong, it's got some really high points, but then there's other elements of it that I just, for whatever reason, even though the songs are fine, it seems like they're kind of doing the same thing, I just don't have that same visceral reaction. Still a very enjoyable album, it just feels slightly like a slip in quality overall to me, so I'm putting this one at great tier. And that brings us to Seeing Through Fire in 2023. 3 decades and 9 albums later, they're still keeping the fire burning as if they haven't aged a day. I'm also becoming convinced that Matt just does better on his own, because once more this finds them as a 4-piece and the riffs feel completely untethered. Noah Buchanan handling the production this time, and they sound as good as ever. Carved in Stone kicks major ass. Death Hoax fucks. More great gang vocals and Motorhead bass on Mental Decontrol. Another super hype intro with the chugging thought crimes. Killer solo on that one too. That main riff on Unavoidable Truth is pure attitude, and Power and Blood brings a lot of that Axe to Fall era Converge energy. In fact, I double checked to see if Kurt Ballou produced this album, because there's a lot of that vibe going on here. No Solace, No Quarter, No Mercy is like the perfect summary of the album, and honestly should have been the title. I generally don't like having more albums in the top tier than any other, but to me, these 3 are easily the clear standouts in pretty much equal regards, so I think it's one of their best. I'm putting it at perfection. Y'all check out this playlist for more metalcore tier lists and videos, and again, let me know down in the comments how might you rank these albums differently, where do you feel different, the same, but that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.